This movie is about the mountains, glaciers, lakes and canyons of the Peruvian Andes, and about the people living there, who have used the rich resources for thousands of years. But the mountains also bear some threats. The Andes give, the Andes take. We will start our journey in Huaraz.
Because Huaraz is located at 3,100 meters and it's between the Cordillera Negra and Cordillera Blanca, so there is just a narrow place which is located Huaraz, and the expansion is really crowded.
Yeah, Joshua, you've been living here in Huaraz for your entire life. So I'm wondering, so this city, it's a very beautiful city, but it looks a little bit different from other South American cities.
Yeah, basically around this area we had the earthquake on 1970 and it destroyed all the colonial buildings. So this city is really new, and as you see it's rebuilt.
Todo Huaraz fue todo con el terremoto caído las casas y bonito lo han reconstruido.
Yeah, the importance of Huaraz today is basically the tourism, because a lot of people want to see this mountain. It's a really different culture as well, and everything is for share. It's the Andean cosmovision over here. You can see the people walking around the streets with the typical dresses and stuff, and if you go far away from Huaraz you can find really good fields, potatoes and friendly people, and yeah, the mountains are gorgeous every day over here.
The Cordillera Blanca is more than 6,000 meters high and contains most of the tropical glaciers worldwide. The vertical distance between the highest peaks and the Rio Santa Valley is more than 4,000 meters.
You may have heard that the Cordillera Blanca is a so-called batholith. And what a batholith is, I want to show you briefly. Well, mainly you've got some existing rock where some magma is beneath. Since this is lighter, when it is liquid, it rises up and it intrudes the existing rock, which means it enters it and cools down without reaching the surface.
Then the sedimentary rock slips off over thousands and millions of years, and what does it do? And forms the Cordillera Negra. The batholith itself was exposed and now forms the Cordillera Blanca.
We are here on the Cordillera Negra, and on the upper side of the valley we have Cordillera Blanca. And in between we have the Rio Santo Valley, which separates the two mountain areas. There are two huge mountains. One is the Huascarán Norte and the other one is the Huascarán Sur, which are the highest mountains in Peru. And in 1962 and in 1970 there happened two huge landslides.
So in 1962, a large piece of ice and rock broke off from the north peak of Nevado Huascarán, and on its way down it drained a large amount of ice, of snow and also of debris, and so it developed into a large avalanche of mud, of debris, of ice, of snow, which traveled all the way down to the Rio Santa Valley at a distance of approximately 20 kilometers. And it caused a lot of destruction on the debris fan of Ranrahirka. In 1970, on 31st of May, the same earthquake, which also destroyed the town of Huaraz, triggered another large fall of rock and ice from the north peak of Nevado Huascaran, but this time it was much larger than the event in 1962. So the mud avalanche overtopped a more than 100-meter high ridge, the Cerro de Aira, and destroyed the town of Yungay on the other side of this ridge. Over its vertical distance of 4 kilometers, the mud avalanche gained a velocity of at least 300 kilometers per hour and a volume of at least 50 million cubic meters. My business is simulating landslides on the computer, and so I was struggling a lot with this Huascaran event of 1970 because it was quite hard to correctly simulate that overtopping of Cerro de Aira. But finally I managed, and I was really happy to see that mudflow overtopping Cerro de Aira on the computer.
The success of the scientist was a disaster for the people. They saw the avalanche overtopping Cerro de Aira just 3 minutes after the town had been badly damaged by the earthquake. At the former town of Yungay, we met the woman called Señora Rosa. Only few people survived this event. She was one of them when she was only 11 years old.
Lo que vi es que una masa como una ola, ¿no? Como una ola para arriba. Como una ola pero inmenso para arriba y después ha empezado a bajar con chispas como candela, ¿no? Con chispas sonando todo. El ruido era muy fuerte, desesperante. Como vino una masa gruesa con hielo, barro, como ha bajado de arriba, todo en su encuentro lo ha traído arrasando todo. Y arrasando todo, y esta piedra no ha existido. Pero después de 70, esta piedra quedó acá en la misma plaza. No sabemos exactamente dónde eran las casas. O sea, ha habido 25.000 personas desaparecidos, muertos. Y casi la mayoría pues han fallecido. Muy poquititos nos hemos salvado. No hemos llegado ni a 300, ni a 500, ni a 400 la persona, no. Todito fue arrasado. Quizás por el terremoto o por el aluvión.
There were only two places in Yungay where people were safe. One was the place of the circus where it took place, it's on the margin of the town, and the other one was Cemetery Hill. Cemetery Hill was destroyed by the earthquake, but it was not hit by the avalanche, so people could find some refuge there. The place of former Yungay was abandoned and declared a monument, and the town was rebuilt for the people to live in a place nearby. But the question remains, will it happen again?
Claro, el pensamiento a veces digo, si hay un terremoto, un fuerte movimiento, se puede venir. Y ahora pues ni siquiera hay casas, todo es una pampa, pocos eucaliptos. Llegará pues menos de un minuto, en segundos desapareceremos. Y es que ojalá Dios que nos ampare, ¿no?
So it was quite an interesting experience for me to see the completely different perspective of those people who have experienced the event in Yungay, who have suffered, who have lost their family members. This controversial point of view I did not only experience in Yungay, but also in another place which we are going to visit now.
This thing where we are walking on right now, this is a glacier moraine. So what is a glacier moraine? There was a glacier here before, so everything was full with ice, and this ice was always in movement, and it transported all these rocks to the side. Here to the right of the glacier, and on the other side to the left of the glacier. So walking here on this glacier moraine, you have to be very careful, because this till material, this is not stable at all, okay? So it's just loosened rock. As soon as you step on the wrong side here, you might fall a lot, about more than 100 meters I think, down. So be careful.
This is a glacier lake in Laguna Palcacocha at an elevation of 4,600 meters.
In the 1930s, the lake level of Lake Palcacocha was much higher, even though there was much less water, so kind of in volume. And this was because there was still a huge part of the glacier within the basin. And this situation was very well documented by Hans Kinzel.
So in 1941, Lake Palcacocha drained suddenly for an unknown reason.
A clough, which was happened here, is a glacier lake outburst flood. That means in most of the times something fell into the glacier lake, or the impounding moraine wall gets destroyed, and so a huge amount of water and stones and mud flows downstream to the valley.
A huge breach was eroded into the moraine dam, and even though most of the material eroded was deposited quite close to the dam, a flood wave developed which traveled all the way down to the city of Huaraz at a distance of 23 kilometers. And on its way down, this flood wave consumed another lake.
The line, which is pretty straight in the landscape, and was the lake level before the dam breached.
The city of Huaraz is located directly at the outlet of the valley. The people of Huaraz were not at all prepared for a flood wave of this type, so that the event evolved into a huge disaster with at least 1,600 fatalities.
From the 1980s on, the lake was much bigger, was getting much bigger because of the glacier retreat. And yeah, the people remembered the catastrophe of 1941 quite well. And so they installed drainage systems, they built an artificial dam, and also they have some monitoring systems over there.
My work here is the radio communication. From here we communicate everything that happens, the weather, the lake level, everything we report down to the base. The base is in the city Huaraz. We do this because this lake is at risk. Why is it at risk? Because there could be a fall of an avalanche. And this could result in a disaster if the lake is hit and the water reaches the city. We inform the city by radio. All information is sent down to the base through 24 hours. How many people work here? We are two. Sometimes we go down to buy some food and then we return.
I couldn't imagine. It's like I like to be in some remote places for some time, but not like all the time. That's crazy.
I think we are now driving down to the hotel.
What's going on?
So we need to go by foot. The Yashinka Valley is to the north of Huaraz, and the interesting thing about it is that there are different generations of lakes at different altitudes, and the formation of lakes is linked to glacial retreat. And there was a lake called Miluacocha, which is dammed by a big moraine, the Lysite moraine, and formed probably in the early 20th century. And the dam breached in the 1950s, and there's a big cone of sediments in the Pampa where the refugio is now, and the dam breach happened in the wet season, so there were no fatalities.
Very nice place, some kind of pampa at an elevation of 4,750 meters, and now we have to decide who will go further up and who will go down back to the refuge.
It's such a high elevation, I can't cope with it anymore.
Yeah, I'm going down.
I'm actually going down.
Up, 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 let's try.
So there's still approximately 300 meters in elevation to go.
Uh-oh.
I need my breath.
There is another lake at even higher elevation. Actually, it was very exhausting to walk there because it's at an elevation of 5,100 meters approximately. And it formed just recently, and this lake is dammed by bedrock, and Anyway, there was an outburst in the wet season of 2003 and 2004.
Try to describe the landform over there. When it looks like loose material got moved from
right
this
side.
side to that side, and
Maybe
then
it's deep up there, and it came from
something
behind,
big moved
maybe.
it to the other side.
No, it's mainly a moraine, which came from, it's like a rock glacier, but here you can see more rocks, and they're not quite sure if the ice is still under the moraine.
What are you walking on right now?
On the rock glacier thing.
Well, this is an amazing geomorphological situation with some structure which is actually a rock glacier, but we're not actually sure whether it is really a rock glacier or something else.
I see very coarse material, very coarse rocks, and it's a deposit, or it's part of the rock glacier, which is moving downwards with about 1 meter per year.
It developed in a glacier with debris cover, and in the end it's believed to be a rock glacier.
This is the Hatunrahu glacier, which goes from the northern side of Vandoy Massif, which is the second highest peak of the Cordillera Blanca.
We are walking now to the Mirador, and I'm looking forward to have a nice view over the lake Paron.
And here we have the Paron Lake, which developed after the small ice age into this size. Before it was smaller, but the moraine now is a natural dam, and now it's bigger.
We are going to the lake just to check the temperature actually.
It's really cold because the water comes from the ice.
So in the end, nobody goes into the lake. It's very cold, very cold.
How do you know when you haven't been in?
Science.
And in 1985 they built a tunnel to level out the lake, because they are afraid of outbreak of the lake when there are 2 more lakes further upstream, and when they break then there would be a wave developing a lake outbreak here when the lake would be on his normal water level.
So that's why it is suggested to keep the lake level down. On the other hand, there are some concerns about water scarcity during the dry season.
So we're going now to the outlet of a tunnel. This is very important for this lake here, and then we'll see. I don't know.
Walking to the outlet of the lake.
Well, we are now in the southern part of the Cordillera Blanca, and this part of the mountain range is basically formed of metamorphic sedimentary rocks. And at this particular place we are in a former lake basin which has been sedimented, and now it's filled by some kind of peatland. And what you can see here also is one nice lake. So my guess is that there are some springs down there.
But I'm not here because of that, but I want to show you the Puya Raimondi. Puya Raimondi, that's a very interesting plant.
Which dies at the age of 40. The plant takes about 40 years to come to its inflorescence, and then they have about 10,000 to 20,000 flowers on each stem.
I guess maybe this one was destroyed artificially by people, because this seems to be burned. So I guess there was a puya and people just burned it down. They are afraid of the puyas.
Oh, Puya Raimondi is eating my kids and my sheep. The local people afraid this because some animals are eating grass around these plants, and then they got stuck on the spikes, and when they want to liberate it, they get more stuck and more, and they suspended the over the plants. So sometimes you can find sheep at 1 meter from the ground, and yeah, the people say the Puya Raimondi are eating my animals, but it's not eating. It's not eating.
Let's go to the glacier!
We are here at Glacier Pastoruri.
Why are we here?
Well, this is a really interesting glacier.
We can see an extremely rapid retreat of the glacier, and where we are standing right now, a few years ago it was full of ice. So you can see the huge effects of climate change here.
We left the Cordillera Blanca and climbed down 4,000 vertical meters, diving into the everlasting coastal fog at this time of the year. Hidden under the clouds, there is one of the largest cities of South America, with more than 10 million people.
We are here at the coast of Miraflores, Lima. So we are at the tropical latitude. Here is the Pacific Ocean, and we think, or we are actually sure, that the water of the ocean is very warm, and therefore we will now jump into the water. The water is cold. I can't explain myself why the water is so cold. Do you know why the water is so cold? Humboldt. Ah, that Humboldt current. Ah.
Tourism in Lima is actually very limited to some hotspots like Miraflores or Barranco or the central square, the Plaza de Armas. And as we went to the center, some blocks away from the center, just 3 blocks, we heard music of children, and yeah, they organized a feast from the national holiday. And yeah, they invited us to make some interviews with them, and yeah, they invited us to the best viewing spots, and it was quite nice.
We have made a big jump to Arequipa, which is in the southern part of the country. The area around Arequipa is not only famous for its sunny weather and its volcanoes, but also for a number of deep canyons, one of which we are going to visit now.
We are now in the Colca Canyon.
I have heard that this canyon is one of the deepest canyons from all over the world. Is it true?
Yes, that's true.
Why is one of the deepest canyons of the world exactly here? So this is now the question.
Because the Andes were uplifting quite rapidly, and to regain equilibrium the river had to incise quite deeply, and therefore we have like one of the deepest canyons in this region. Yes, it's simple, but in more detail it's also more complicated because there were more processes involved. For example, lava flows or pyroclastic deposits, or also rock avalanches that impounded lakes.
Lakes have produced sediments, and the river had to cut into all these deposits again in order to regain equilibrium. So here, this wonderful landscape we see here is the result of a complex interplay of different processes. How do you feel?
Very good.
To the east of the Colca Canyon extends the vast highland of the Altiplano. Even if most of it is at least at an elevation of 4,000 meters, it does not look like a high mountain area at all. Instead, the Altiplano is characterized by plain areas, rolling hills, lakes, such as lagunas.
Visitan más o menos casi 90 personas diarias de diferentes nacionalidades. Alemanes, franceses, italianos, portugueses, argentinos, de toda nación visita diariamente. De Perú, también Chile, Ecuador, todos presentes. Vienen a visitar exclusivamente a mirar el panorama, es muy hermoso, es natural. De alpaca, 100% natural, es lavable, porque yo mismo lo laboro y vendo precio cómodo, precio de promoción. Yo no vendo precio comercial. Porque aquí para mí me compran los comerciantes y en junio ya tienen que vender más. Tienen que pagar el impuesto, alquiler de la tienda y yo vendo precio taller.
Laguna Lagunias is very nice, but it is by far not the largest lake in the Altiplano. And so, to see the largest lake, we have to go on.
The lake is quite huge.
Lake Titicaca is on a sea level of about 3,800 meters.
The surface area is about 8.5 thousand square kilometers. Half of the water comes directly through precipitation on the lake surface, and the other half comes from the catchment area through inflow. The lake has one outflow, but only less than 10% of the water goes through the outflow to another lake and then to the Sala de Uyuni, which is located in Bolivia. And the other, more than 90%, go away through evaporation. The lake level can fluctuate more or less an average 1 meter between dry season and rainy season.
The Urus have been living on floating islands on Lake Titicaca for thousands of years in order to escape invaders. They completely relied on the Totora reed for building their islands, houses and boats. And today tourism is a very important income for the descendants.
I think we will be distributed to our families on the island.
Es un sistema de rotación. Somos 10 comunidades, entonces cada hospedaje de cada comunidad, en caso de mi comunidad somos 40 hospedantes. Cada familia lleva 10 turistas, no un día, puede ser 3, 4, 5 días. Y cada 2 meses recibimos turistas. Cuando completamos a otra comunidad, sucesivamente se van dando la vuelta. Y toda la isla son 10 comunidades. Acá existe Aini y la Minca. Eso quiere decir, nos ayudamos todos a hacer la casa, a hacer adobe, a hacer la casa. Para él, para mí, así. No cobramos que nos paguen nada.
Yeah, for the agriculture and the vegetation on the islands on Lake Titicaca and also the surroundings, the lake has a great influence because it makes the climate more mild and warmer, and so the farmers can grow more here than would be possible without the lake.
They grow potatoes, maize, different crops,
also quinoa and beans. They plant not every terrace each year. There is a rotation of planting, and so that they can use the best soil for the growing.
Caro, where are we going right now?
We're going to the beach.
So this nice beach, looks like the Riviera. Therefore I expect warm water and will now go into the lake.
It was refreshing.
Really refreshing. Well, I have felt that it has 20 degrees. No, it has not 20 degrees. Yeah, maybe 9 or 10 are correct.
It's colder in the beaches of Lima.
Yeah?
Yeah, because of the Humboldt current, yes. So this is warm.
Back on land, we now continue our way along the Altiplano, and then we cross a 4,300 meters high pass, finally arriving to the ancient cultural landscapes with the city that once formed the very center of the Inca Empire.
This karstic sinkhole was used by the Inca as a lab. Because of the different temperatures on the upper and the lower part, they could use it to understand the differences in the elevation zones of the Andes Mountains. Some call it the Boku of the Inca. They also did salt mining at sites which are still used today, hundreds of years later.
It's our last day of the excursion. We are going to the most famous site of South America probably. But first we have to climb. See you later.
We are here in the montane cloud forest at an altitude of about 2,800 meters. It's so green here because of the great moisture from the Amazonian lowlands, which are lifted up on the east side of the Andes. So the forest here has the difference to the lowland Amazonian rainforest, that it is simpler in its structure and the trees grow not so high, and we have a lot of epiphytes growing here that can actually get the moisture out of the fog or the clouds, as you call it. Those, for instance, would be bromelias and lichens that grow in the higher tranches of the trees.
How do you feel, Florian?
Sweaty.
We are standing now on the Montaña Machu Picchu. It's above the famous Incan town Machu Picchu. We were hiking up from Aguas Calientes.
In this area there is a big batholith, so a big block of granite, and there are also some fault lines in this granitic body, and actually we can see quite nicely these fault lines. Montaña Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu are uplifted blocks, whereas Machu Picchu in between forms a depression.
The granite is fractured. The Incans used these fractures for getting the blocks to construct their town. Speciality about this town was it was independent from the rest of the Inca reign. They produced their own food, their own supplies. The whole town had an own water supply system. The Incas found the water source, which was behind the Inca town and the Montaña Machu Picchu. They found the source and made a water supply system through the town. The city was mainly used as a refuge for the Incan people, as it was really hard to find in the middle of the rainforest. So the Spanish never found any trace to this town. It was rediscovered in 1911 by T.R.M. Bingham, a US scientist and explorer. But he was not only an explorer, he was as well a thief, because he took a lot of gold to Yale University.
In the 1980s, Machu Picchu was declared World Heritage Site. Today, many thousands of people visit this place every year. For us, it is the end of a story of a journey through the Andes Mountains.